Hi, my name's John. Welcome to part 14 in a series of short videos all about the metal turning lathe. In tonight's episode I'm going to talk about and demonstrate the use of boring bars in the lathe. This is some of the boring bars that I use all the time on this lathe. I think that's probably the most popular one. It's just a cheap bang good boring tool, but it has been very successful. They're insert boring bars. That's another insert boring bar. That's another one. There's a bar here that's been hand formed, hand ground. That works perfectly alright. There's a one there, that's the one I made out of high speed steel. That really does work nice, especially on brass. There's a one there that's been made out of a broken milling cutter for a specific job. I didn't make it, but I have used it. I'm going to put some material in the chuck and show you how to set the boring tool up to get the best from it, and show you some of the problems you do get getting clearance using a boring bar. This is a conventional cutting tool, a tip tool that I use all the time on the outside of a piece of round stock. The clearance angle, I bring it into the touches, that's a clearance angle between the tip of the tool and the base of the tool is quite wide because the material, the actual raw material, curves away from it. So the gap at the bottom is bigger than the gap at the top. That's clearance angle. That's one of the problems you have using a boring tool. These two lathe tools actually use the same tip. That one there is a left hand knife tool. You can see how the top of the tool is fairly flat. And this one here is a boring tool. You can see how it's got a steep angle on. It's got a lot more clearance on there to allow for the inside of the hole. That one doesn't matter because the material curves away. But this one, the material actually curves into it. It's quite a pronounced difference in the angle. It's important that you use the biggest boring bar you possibly can. The boring bar is overhanging quite a long way and you get flex. So the stiffer the boring bar the better, and as little stick out as possible. This is a nice simple boring job because it's an open hole. We're going to go straight through. So you can see how much tool is sticking out. And there's just enough it's through there. The tool's right through and we're just missing the tool post. It's got to be as tight as that. It's important that the tool's on centre height. I'm just going to touch it off. Then I'm going to put a cut on 0.25 mm. That'll take half a mil out of it. Power feed onto it. So that tool there is being pushed away from the job. We'll let it run through and do its full cut. Right, I'm going to bring the tool back out. That'd be a normal cut on the outside of the bar, and I dialed in 0.25. It would take half a mil off, and I wouldn't expect it to take another cut. But with a boring tool, we start away again. It's still cutting. That's because the boring bar flexes. You must take at least one spring cut before you start to measure. During boring, I often power feed in and power feed out. And it'll take 2 or 3 spring cuts to get to the size you want and to get a measurement, an accurate measurement. Right, so that's 2 passes. So I put the bad finish in there. Right, we'll start it again. And it's still cutting. Very light, but it is still cutting. As well as having a big relief angle on there, the end of the tool has also got relief on as well. You can see it there, which means I've just machined on this very point so I can create a flat bottom hole. We've got to bore a hole, we need a flat face in there. This could be 4 or 5 inches up inside a piece of material where you're working totally blind, which pointless doing that because I couldn't film it, could I? So we need to machine that to a certain size, a certain depth, and machine that face there flat. I'm going to take a roughing cut first, just touch it off. And I'm going to touch off on the bottom of the hole, which is there. Now I've set my DRO to 0. If we didn't have a DRO, we'd be using dial gauges. And we'll put a cut on. I'm watching my DRO getting down to 0, and I'll stop it just before it gets there. You can hear it there. Right, so we want to go, say, a mil bigger and a mil deeper. So it's a ½ mil cut to start with. Put that on now. It won't take a ½ mil on because the bar will flex. And once again we'll stop it in the bottom of the hole just before it hits the actual bottom. There, and we can use that to machine the base of the hole. Not too bad because I'm watching the DRO and I'm relying completely on that. That's a spring cut, and take that in at a full depth. And face across the bottom. And that's basically a flat bottom hole. Normally you can get away with a drilled hole and just leave a taper on. We can see how you could get a massive boring tool in there to bore that. You could use that one, but you would never be able to face inside the hole. So boring bars are always a little bit flexible. We can machine a taper in there by using the compound slide, but before I do that I would shorten the boring bar right off, as short as possible. Just to try and eliminate some of the flex. So you'll set the angle you want to bore at on your compound slide. If you'll make like a collared chip or something like that. Bore a taper just the same as you can on the outside, and that's cut a lot better now because the tool is a lot stiffer, a lot more rigid. You can't beat the stiff rigid tool, and they keep telling us. Could use that same tool just to come out and face the end. I hope you enjoyed that short video as much as I enjoyed making it. I hope you didn't find this too boring. Anyway, just time to say thanks for watching, thanks for subscribing. If you haven't subscribed, please do. Anyway, Thanks for watching.